Well, students, in this class, we will study what is meant by time value of money. Let me briefly introduce you what is meant by time value of money and the importance of cash flow through a simple illustration. People who are in need of money beyond their financial capacity will look for borrowing. On the other hand, people with surplus money will look for opportunities to lend or invest money, right? The lenders take a statement from the borrowers. So in this case, this person is a borrower and he will give a written statement saying that he will pay back the money to the lender in time. Okay, the lender takes statement from the borrower stating that the borrower will return the money within a particular period of time, either in single payment or in installment. Such a document is generally called security. During this period, the borrower should also have to pay a rent for the money that he borrows to the lender, right? So this rent is called interest. And the money that is given is called capital or principal. So we have told this already. The lender, that is this person, is called the creditor and the borrower is generally called the debtor. So for the creditor, the security for the creditor, it is a asset, and for the borrower, it is a liability. For this lender, the money which he has in hand today, it has the potential to earn money in future. Okay. And the potential earning capacity of money for a given period of time is what is called as the time value of money. A financial institution like bank, we'll just imagine it as this person, borrows money from various sources. Okay, so the bank, what it does is borrows money from various sources and lends it to people who are in need of money, like people who wants to expand their business, who wants to buy houses in the terms of housing loan, or for business in terms of business loans, and etc. Such institutions should manage the time, okay, for flow of money from asset to meet their liability. See, when they borrow money, the bank, when they borrow money, they have the liability, right? When they lend money, here they will get it as asset, okay? So from this person, it comes as a liability. And when it goes here, it goes as a asset, okay? So like that, they will be doing with many people, not only with one person, they will be doing it with many people. So they have to carefully manage the cash flow. So this is called cash flow. I think you can intuitively understand what is cash flow. We will define it later. So the institution have to manage their cash flows very carefully. Failing to meet their liability. See, if they fail to meet their liability due to lack of time in getting the statement from the asset is dangerous, okay? Because that if they default to this guy, if this bank default to this guy, it means if they don't pay back the money in time, then their ratings will go down, and that is dangerous for them. Even to they will be losing money in terms of paying more interest. Okay, these are bank problems, but these are the facts. Okay, for instance, if the bank borrows money, okay, so if he is borrowing money and says that I will pay it back in 5 years, say, in 5 years and lends the money and says that you have to pay back in 6 years. Say, if they say that you have to pay back in 6 years, okay, then what happens? Suppose if they are having only one transaction, so get money saying that I will pay in 5 years and give money saying that I will pay in 6 years. And suppose this guy has no other money other than this, so he has to get back the money and pay money to this person. But what happens? He has to pay money in 5 years, but this person will give only after 6 years. Therefore, there is a mismatch of 1 year, right? Therefore, this person will not be able to pay the money to this person. That is, he cannot meet the liability in this case. Okay, therefore, he has to give his promises very carefully on both sides, both on the lending side as well as on the borrowing side. If he doesn't do this management properly, then he will meet this asset and liability mismatch. Okay, so this is very, very dangerous. Such a mismatch will result in default that can lead to a huge loss to these institutions, okay, bank or any financial institutions. Hence, studying cash flow is an important activity for a financial institutions. Also, an improper flow or a less cash flow in a system affect the bond market. Since bond yields is one of the important parameter in some asset pricing models, we have to first understand the concept of cash flow before going into our course. Okay, even they are used in pricing derivatives and so on. See, here we have explained all these concepts in terms of lending and borrowing, right? Lending and borrowing. So this can be viewed as investment and investment instrument, where an investor is called a creditor and the investment instrument can be called as a debtor. Okay, these are two contexts. You can understand these concepts. Let's start our discussion with interest rates. So interest in percentage divided by 100 is what generally we take as a interest rate. Let's introduce some notations which we will use often. T always denotes the time, and t equal to 0, we always take the time at which the investment is made or the borrowing is done. And t equal to capital T is the maturity date. The duration between 0 and t is called the period of investment. And the number of times the interest paid during the investment period is called the frequency. Okay, suppose the interest is paid 4 times, then frequency is 4. Like in a year, if the interest is paid quarterly, it means the frequency is 4. Let us denote the frequency by n with a constant time interval. Say, for instance, you have from 0, that is the time of investment, to capital T, which let's take as 1. Generally, we take this as in terms of years. And if I say that the interest is paid quarterly, it means up to, say, this is January, then it is up to March, is the first payment is done. And then in June, the second payment is done. And then September, and then finally December. Okay. So therefore, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So n is 4. Okay. And the interval, the time interval in this case is constant, right? So this is T1, we will take as T1, T2, T3 and T4, which is also equal to T, and this is T0, which is also equal to 0. Okay. Now, how to get T1, T2, T3, and so on is using this formula, correct? So T1 is T by N, T2 is 2 times T by N, and so on. So this you can see very easily. Each Tn, Tk is the due that one has to pay the interest. Whoever is the borrower, they will pay the interest at every time Tk. Let the interest rate be R. As I told you, whenever we say interest rate is R, it means we always denote it by dividing the interest given in percentage by 100. So when I say R is the interest rate, it means the interest is paid in percentages R into 100. So we always take this in terms of per year. Okay, it's not necessary that the interest rate has to be quoted always in terms of yearly interest, but we always take it. Then each interest payment will be at the rate of this, right? Suppose I pay it in a quarter, so January to March. So in March, if I have to pay you interest, whereas yearly interest, say, is given by 9%, okay, then how much I have to pay, or say 12%, let's take, so that it is a round number. So suppose I have to pay 12%, then at this interest due, I have to pay you 3% because you are going to pay 4 times. Therefore, I will pay you 3% here, 3% in June, and similarly 3% in September, and then 3% in the December time. Okay. So each time you pay is nothing but R into, in this case, it's 1 year. Therefore, T is 1 divided by N. So in general, it can be 2 years, 3 years, like that. In that case, you have to carefully choose your T. Okay, what are the types of interest rates? There are basically 2 types of interest rates. One is called the simple interest, and other is called the compound interest. So let's take just an example of 1 year borrowing or investment. Okay, both can be viewed similarly. At t equal to 0, I give you some, or I lend some money, and at t equal to capital T, which is I will take as 1 for the sake of simplicity, the money has to be repaid. So quarterly, suppose we are paying the money, okay, say 12% annual payment. Okay, it means R is equal to 0.12, right? We will divide it by 12. So the simple interest, what is mean by simple interest? The simple interest is nothing but it's a simplest way of paying money. What you do is the debtor, that is the person who borrowed or the person who took investment from you, both are called debtors. The debtor pays the interest to the creditor at every time Tk. Okay, here it is T3 and T4, which is nothing but this. So every interest due time, the debtor will pay interest, but how he pays? In simple interest scheme, suppose it is mentioned that the interest is paid at a simple interest basis. It means at the rate of 12%, it means 3% the debtor will pay you the money. Suppose you took 100 rupees, then 3 rupees the debtor will pay. 3 rupees the debtor will pay here, 3 rupees the debtor will pay here, and 3 rupees will pay here, plus they will also give you back the 100 rupees that they borrowed if the deal is only for 1 year. Otherwise, it keeps on going like this. Okay, that is what is called simple interest. Okay, it's very simple, straightforward, no confusion. Now, compound interest means what? You initially borrowed 100. Now, the debtor, that is the borrower, will add this 3 rupees. So here, the debtor will add that 3 rupees that is paid as a interest. Okay, the debtor has to add it to his or her principal and then pay 3% for this, not 3% for 100 rupees. Okay, 3% for this they have to pay here. Okay, that you take as a capital. So that you take as a capital or principal, and then for that you have to calculate 3%. Okay, and then that you add. So every time this 103 plus the interest that you got here, let us denote it by I2, that will be taken as the principal, and that for that you will calculate 3% here. Again, that principal plus I3, that together you will take as principal and calculate 3% and pay it here. Okay, so this is the idea of compound interest. Let's try to derive formulas for this. Simple interest is very really simple. Okay, let's take the principal, that is the initial payment, the borrowing or the investment, as P naught, and the rate of interest we generally denote by R, and the final, that is the maturity amount, okay, is denoted by PT, which is also called the nominal value of the investment or the borrowing. Okay, so what is finally the net amount that the investor or the creditor gets out of this deal is called the nominal value. So what is the interest? Then at every interest due, the interest paid at T is equal to Tk. The interest paid is, let's denote it by Ik. It is the principal amount into the interest rate into T by N. Okay, so this is the interest rate per period. Okay, that is what we have seen previously. So the principal into interest rate per period is what the debtor will pay at every interest due time, Tk. So totally, what is the interest? Therefore, the debtor will pay. It is K equal to 1 to N Ik, right? You add all that, that is the total interest that they will pay. And that is nothing but, you can add everything. You can see that it is P0, P0 into R into this N times. Therefore, N into this, that is R into T. Correct? And what is the final maturity? It means the nominal value. It means at the end of the deal, how much is the money that the creditor got. It is the initial, the debtor will pay back the capital also plus interest, right? Okay, the debtor would have paid it in bits and pieces at these times, but cumulatively what the debtor will pay is the interest I, right? So you add them all up, you get the nominal value or the maturity amount at the end of the deal. So finally, you can write this formula like this, right? Because I is given like this. Therefore, your formula finally can be written like this. And this is the formula for simple interest. Let's see an example. In this example, we will also learn what is meant by cash flow. Recall the formula for simple interest is given by this. So let's take the following problem. Mr. Meg invested 100 rupees in a bank fixed deposit scheme at the rate of 10% per annum and for a period of 2.5 years. Okay. So these are the important parameters. 100 rupees, rate of interest is given and the period is given. Assume that the bank pays out interest every quarter. Therefore, period is also got. So we can apply this formula here. You can see that, see, 2.5 years, right? So therefore, per year you have 4 interest dues. So there are 2.5 years. Therefore, you have 10, right? So therefore, n is equal to, frequency is 10 here. And what is the total time? That is 2.5 years. The initial payment, that is the capital or principal, is 100 and the interest rate is 10%. Okay, that means 0.1. So once you have all this, you can immediately write the formula. So P, that is the final maturity, that is the nominal value. The nominal value of this fixed deposit is 100, that is P naught, into 1 plus the rate of interest is 0.1 into T, that is 2.5, right? And that is given by 125 rupees. So what is the interest that the investor got in this? The total interest at the end of the deal is 25 rupees, right? That's the total net interest that the person got. Now let us try to see how the investor got the money time to time. Okay. So the first thing is, at t is equal to 0, Meg gave 100 rupees, right? At t equal to t1, Meg got 2 rupees 50 paise, right? That is, say, if this happened in Jan 1, then in March, at March 31st, he got 2 rupee 50 paise. And similarly, this happened till t is equal to 9. Okay. Meg got 2 rupees 50 paise till what time? 2.5 years means, suppose this happened in 2020, then 2020 finished, 21 finished, and in 2022, March 31st, 2022, he will get this money. And then at the end, that is 2000 June, because it is 2.5 years, 30th 2022, what May gets is his original 100 rupees plus 2 rupees 50 paise. Okay, because after 2.5 years, the bank will pay also back the principal. Okay, totally at the end, he will get 102 rupees 50 paise. This is what we say that the cash flow to Mr. Meg is, initially it was, he paid 100 rupees. Therefore, we will say minus 100. Okay. So here he paid 100 rupees. Therefore, it is minus 100. And then every interest due, he got 2 rupees 50 paise. So it is plus. So from the Meg's point of view, this is outflow, whereas all these are inflows of money. Okay. Up to here, it is an inflow. Wherever there is a negative, then it is a outflow for the source. All positive numbers are inflow to the source. Okay, that is how we write the cash flow. Later we will define it more precisely. This is just a intuitive understanding of what we meant by cash flow. So it is interesting to observe that in the simple interest, after the first period of interest payment, the investor is having 2 rupees 50 pies in hand. At this point, at t is equal to t1, if he breaks his investment, he will actually get 102 rupees 50 pies, right? So what he can do is he can break his investment at t equal to 1, get this money and reinvest it. If he does this, then he will get the simple interest for a amount of 102 rupees 50 paise. That will be slightly more than what he would have got if he continued with these investments, right? That is the base of the compound interest. In order to avoid such immature breaking of the investments, bank actually never go for simple interest, rather they go for compound interest.